Let me just double check I'm muted. Okay. Let's continue with this problem. So I basically got up to writing L accepts. And now let's move on to L diverge. And so if we remember what what constitutes diverging, basically anything that looks like this transition. And this answer is wrong. How the hell did she get that? This is incorrect. Okay. But let's explain why it's wrong. So if you look at our transition graph, right, we drew all of this because we knew that the place that we diverge is in state T. So our goal is to go from Q, which is our starting state, to T, and then stop in state T. So do whatever we can to never leave state T. And so let's do that. So from Q to T, we have to do all the options that we have. And it's 1, 2, 3. It's any one of these three transitions. A, B, or C, all three of them. If we are in state Q and we see an A, B, or C, we'll go to state T, we'll write an A, P, or K, but it doesn't matter, right? We're diverging, so it's not like it's going to be important. It's most likely not going to be important. So let's, no, what the fuck just happened? Did that fuck up the recording? Let me just fix that real quick. Okay, right. So let's write this. So if this is our tape and we're in state Q, our goal is to go from Q to T. Let me switch colors to show that diverging is this blue transitions. Okay, so we need to go from Q to T. And the only way to do that is with one of these three transitions, right? All of them do the same thing. They read they all do different things, but it doesn't matter for now. Let's keep it ambiguous. Let's write A or B or C. Whatever was on here, it's turned into some capital letter. And then we move to the right, and now we're in state T. So now in state T, we see that we have three transitions that all take me back to T. That's what this loop is. Okay, which means they don't let me leave state T, which means I can do them. So let's now do that. So that's an A or a B or a C star. And whatever these characters are, it doesn't matter. They all come from this A or B or C, which is here. And I keep going, transitioning, and I'm in the state T. So right now, state T is looking at something that isn't an A or B or C. Would A star diverge then? Yeah. I mean, we have to be more generic because that's not explicit enough for me to get credit for this. So the reason we're not including G is because look at G. It says if I'm in state T and I see G, go to the left. Keep it a G and go to the left. And then the reason I'm not including G in this first part is because G takes me to state V, right? And where do I want to go? I want to go to state T. Okay, so now I'm in state T, and now I'm looking at a character, right? I don't want to be looking at a G, otherwise I'll do this transition. And so the only other thing that I can do that'll keep me in state T is a blank, which is my diverging transition. So the moment I see a blank, this is the end of my string. I don't have to worry about is there possibly anything else here? This is the end. The moment I see a blank, there's nothing else to the right of it. It's an infinite number of blanks. This was my whole input string. And so my whole input string was just one or more characters that wasn't a G. And so therefore, that's the correct answer for B. Lambda is not correct. Lambda actually just halts. Oh, wait, what the fuck? This is an entirely different question. What question was I doing? Oh, this one. Okay, okay. Oh, okay, good, good. We're correct. Nice. Okay, so now it's correct. And then you see we got the answer. Notice the order doesn't matter, right? This just says one or more. This is one or more. It's the same exact thing. It's a star. Like imagine if I told you like A. Like which A came from the star and then which one came from it. If you have to determine which regular expression generated it. No, A star B is not equivalent to B star A though, because A star B is AA B, and then B star A could be something like BBA. Yeah. I mean like A times B. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. It's like some sort of commutative property, I guess. Or associative property. I don't know. But yeah, essentially that type of logic is why the order doesn't matter. Is everyone okay with this? After we drew this transition graph, we know exactly where we want to visit. And then we figure out a way to get there and do all the transitions that keep us there. And then do the one that diverges. And that's it for this. Essentially, that's all of it for all of these Turing machine questions. But as you can see over here, they can get pretty verbose. And so let's do rejects now. Okay. Let me just clean this up. So we said that rejects is LR, but there's actually a lot more places to reject, right? Notice we never listed, we never labeled Q and S. Like is if I, and then also X. Well, X we can't reject that because it's our accepting state, right? But is it possible to reject at any of these states? We also need to check. And so this is where an extra rule comes into play. This isn't actually always correct, but it's good enough to usually be right. So when you're moving towards the right, you only ever need to worry about anything in your alphabet and sigma, and blank, sorry. Anything in your alphabet, sigma, and blank. When you're moving to the left, you only ever need to worry about anything in your alphabet and any capital letters. I'll explain. Remember in this example here, we wrote a capital letter and then we moved to the right. So if I looked at like, if I did this first transition and right, say my input originally was A, B, how do we B, G, okay, G, A. Okay, let's say this is my whole input, right? And let me start doing transitions. So if I'm in state Q, and I see an A, I read an A, I write a capital A, and I move to the right. So now I'm here, right? I only ever get to a capital letter if I've already visited that spot. Originally on the tape will always only be lowercase letters and blanks. So if I start at the leftmost character and I'm always moving right, I'll never see a capital letter because the capital letter will be to the left of me. Does this make sense? Now, for all of my transitions, I'm always going to keep moving to the right, and I'll never see this capital letter that I wrote. But the moment I have to worry about it is once I start moving left. And so in states that move left, then we start worrying about it. So in state Q, I only have to be able to worry about, see if I can handle anything that's in my alphabet or a blank. In state T, I only have to worry about anything that's in my alphabet or blank. In state S, I only have to worry about anything that's so state S is left. Right. We enter state S through a left, which means I have to worry about anything in my alphabet and capital letters, which means state S can reject on a C or a K. And these are part of L rejects. V always rejects, right? No matter how I get to V, there's nothing else to do. It fails on everything. Right. So, and then Q can't handle a blank, right? What does it do if it sees a blank? It knows what to do if it sees an A, B, C, or a G, but it doesn't know what to do if it sees a blank. So that means there's a blank that'll make, no, reject is not necessarily the same as halt. Halting means stop. Rejecting means stop and you're not in a final state. So for this particular question, we have a final state, but if I showed you a different question, you may see that it doesn't have a final state. This is a final state. This is a final state. Okay, I'll find more questions. So there are two types of Turing machines, ones that have final states, ones that don't. Of the two, if you have a final state, you can accept, reject, diverge. If you don't have a final state, you can either halt or diverge. The way you think about this is halting just means to stop. But if you're halting, you either can like accept or the rest of it be diverge. I mean, sorry, accept or reject. Right. It's a subset of halting. Okay, so you understand halting, right? Halting means it stops. Right. So if I'm in state S and I see a C and a K, what do I do? C or a K? Yeah, I halt. Is S my final state? S is not my final state. So I've halted at something that isn't my final state. What does that mean? It means I reject. Who's that guy that's taking notes? That iPad dude. Ah, nice. Write that down. Okay. Is everyone clear? Wall 23. Do you want me to go over this exam? This exam looks easy. If it's an older exam, it's probably easier. Bro, look at this. Who wrote this? Okay, whatever. I'm not gonna digress. I'm not going to go on a tangent. Going back to this question. Okay. So we need to figure out how to get to state V, how to stop in state Q, how to stop in state S. Those are the three states we can diverge in. Sorry, we can reject it. Because we can't stop in state T, right? Remember, we enter state T on our right. State T means if we enter on a right, it needs to be able to handle lambda and blank. What can state T handle? It can handle anything in the alphabet, and it can handle a blank. Don't understand the underlying concept. Okay, I think what happened was I'm doing an entire. I picked up from a problem that I started yesterday. Do you guys want me to just scratch this and then? Okay, what I'll do is I'll finish this and then I'll start again with this question, and then you guys can come back and try to understand what happened here. Okay, so I'm gonna stop answering questions, and then just do it, and then I'll answer questions over here. Okay, so we have all the ways that we're going to halt. So let's do that. Let's start with the obvious one, halting on state Q, right? Halting on state Q means I need to see a blank. Okay, so how do I enter state Q and see a blank? Well, if there's a blank here, then what's the rest of the right of it? All blanks, which means my input string was empty. So lambda is the first part of my answer. Easy. Okay. Now let's try to diverge on state V. Reject on state V. So we need to go from Q to V, right? In order to go from Q to V, I need to do this transition, right? This transition says if I'm in state Q and I see a G, go to state V, turn to a capital G, move right. Okay, so I'm in state Q and I see a G. So now I turn this into a capital G and I move right. And now I'm in state V. But keep in mind, I haven't hit a blank, which means there could still be stuff here. When there's stuff here, you write anything in the alphabet. Okay. So this is now how I reject on state V. Okay. So let's add that. And now let's try to reject on state S. So we need to get to state S. How do we get to state S? Well, we either get to state S. We go from get to state S from Q to T. So there are 3 transitions that take me from Q to T. I don't know if the capital letters matter. So let's just assume it doesn't for now. And so we can be as generic as possible and just say A or B or C. There is some lowercase letter here, either an A, B, or C. And then I was in state Q. Whatever this lowercase letter was, I just turned it into an X. And I moved to the right. Now I'm in state T. State T, we know has a loop. We see that right here. It's an A or B or C star loop. And I write a bunch of characters. Right, all of these characters are from this A or B or C star. And I keep moving to the right, and eventually I'm in state T. Right, so I want to be in state T looking at something that isn't an A, B, or a C, but I also don't want it to be blank because that's diverging. Okay, so the only other option is I need to see a G. Right, okay, so let's write a G. So if I'm in state T and I see a G, let me pull up the transition right here. If I'm in state T and I see a G, I move to the left and I go to state S. Okay, so let me just copy over what. So this was moving right. And now this is moving left. So I know I have some sort of capital letter here. There could be stuff here. It could be empty, but I know there's definitely a G here. Right, I know there's a G here. Again, there still could be stuff here. I never got to the end of the string. So that means there can also be stuff here. I never hit a blank, right? As long as I never hit a blank, there could still be more things I never looked at. So I was in state T and I saw a G, which means I move to the left and I go to state S. So now I'm in state S and I'm looking at something. Right, and what are the 2 instructions that all of these instructions send me to state X. So what is the transitions that I want to pay attention to? What are the symbols I want to pay attention to? I either want to see a C or I want to see a K. Well, let's do the simple one. Let's do the lowercase letter, right? I can see a C right here, right? If there was a C right here, and then all this stuff was here, so this A or B or C star, then the C was mandatory. That was how I got, I'm halting in state S. There's G here. Again, there's more stuff here. Right? We don't know what the stuff is, so it could be anything. Right? And then what was this first character? We never figured out what it was. It was just some abstract capital letter. So again, we can just write A or B or C because it was just some capital letter. And now I halt. This is my way of halting in state S from here, right? But there's still one other way to halt in state S. It's with a K, a capital K. So let's do that. Let's move this to the bottom. Actually, let's keep this part. Okay, so I kept this part, right? This part was only this part was when is how I got to state T, right? So up until now, should be good, right? I was in state Q, I saw some capital letter. I don't know if the capital letter mattered. I kept moving right because it was an A, B, or C star, and then eventually I saw this G. This G was mandatory in order for me to go from state T and do this transition to take me to state S. Okay, so now I'm in state S. Okay, so we know this guaranteed has to be G here. There could be more stuff here. And then there could be stuff here, right? And then we know there's some capital letter here. So I'm in state T and I moved left and now I'm in state S. And now state S, what is the other thing that we want to pay attention to? What happens when it sees a K? Can state S be looking at a K? What is all of this? These are all lowercase letters, right? Right, this is from this A or B or C star. But what happens if the star was equal to 0? That means nothing is here, which means S is actually looking at this capital letter here. And we left it abstract. We said it was A or B or C because we didn't know if we needed to look at it. But now we need to see a K, which means this is no longer an A or B or C. This is actually a C. Again, we have this stuff here that we never looked at. Sorry, we're in state S. We see a capital K, and then we halt, right? This capital K used to be a C. There was all this stuff here at the end that we never looked at. So this is A or B or C or G star. This star that was in the middle, we got rid of. It was as if the star was equal to 0. And so the other part to this is CG, A or B or C or G star. And that is our complete answer. Let me move everything. Fuck, there's more, there's stuff after this, but those are all the ways that we reject. And then if you see your answer, right, this is how lambda, right? This is how we rejected a state Q. This A or B or C star, CG, A or B or C or G star, that was how we rejected on a C in state S. This G, A or B or C or G star is how we reject on in here in state V. And again, she did something clever. So this part here, she combined these two things together, right? If you remember how she did it here, right? Basically, we created two parts of the reg expression, one that said 0, and then the other ones that said 1 or more. But when you combine them together, you just get 0 or more, which is why she's able to combine them into this A or B or C star. She did a similar thing right here with this A or B or C star, right? If you see here, we have the rest of it is cut off, but this part is actually parts here, right? We have A or B or C, A or B or C star, which means 1 or more. And then here we have nothing, which means 0. So if we combine these two, it's equivalent to saying 0 or more, which is equivalent to just a star. So she just combined her answer, but we got the right answer together. Okay. So rejecting is actually the much harder part. And then there's theory. I don't know what theory she's gotten up to. So this is Rice's theorem. And then these are algorithms. So like converting stuff. What the fuck? Yeah, who's that's tough. I don't actually know any of the theory. Like legitimately, I've never learned that shit. But yeah, you'll get more than like 3/4 of the question. Actually, what I did for any of the theory questions, I said, no, it's not true, due to like non-trivial properties of Rice's theorem. And then I did that for every input-output algorithm question, and I got more than like half the points. So I'd recommend doing that if you don't want to study. But let's do a full Turing machine question, all parts. Okay. Yo, what happened to that kid that said he was going to kill himself and sent that as an email to the teacher? Is there a follow up to that kid? Some dude sent an email. He was just like, "Hey, I'm probably going to beat myself up during the weekend, or I might even stab myself or something." Yeah. Is there a follow up? Sad. That was a good story. Okay, let's do this question. Yeah. He followed through with this word. Okay, let's do this problem. Um, okay, this is our Turing machine. There's a lot more transitions, but we should be good. Okay, so again, we have a final state, which means we have L accepts, L rejects, L diverge. Let's figure out the state transition graph, the transition graphs. So starting from Q, Q I see has three transitions that take me to state T. And then I have one transition that takes me back to Q, but it's actually explicitly the diverging transition. So let's label QL diverge. Okay, and now let's look at T. T has three transitions that sends me back to T, so I know there's a loop here. And then one transition that takes me to state S. And this is actually a left transition. So now we start having to worry about like lefts, right? So let's actually just note that down. Right, up until this point, we've been moving right. Now we move left. And so you can loop back to Q, but there's no point in looping back to Q because it's diverging. It is a loop, but fine. You want to loop? Ooh, fancy. Okay, now let's go to state S. State S has two transitions that sends me back to P. What a bitch. Oh, P is a different transition. I thought it was Q. Okay. And then two transitions sends me to state X. And then in state P, I have two transitions that send me back to X. And then there's a transition here that sends me, there's loops back here. But it's not a loop, actually. These are lefts. So we're not writing anymore. But we'll just keep this here because that other guy likes loops. Okay. And then which one's our final state? We have X as our final state. So let's label that. Let's use red. So L accepts. And then L diverge is over here. And then possibly everything else is an L rejects. Do you recommend putting the directions for each transition? What do you mean? Oh, left is important. But no. Yeah, this is my personal notes. You can do whatever you want with your personal notes. I like leaving myself little cute L's here. It's like, oh, yeah. I find this kind of useful, but I don't actually need it. I was kind of just doing it for you guys, but I'll remove it. I'll stick to what I would do. That way you guys can follow. So S to P is left, right, right. But I don't really yeah, okay, let me just remove it. I think it's better to just uh keep going like this. Okay. And then now we want to figure out how to do rejects. So can we reject in state Q? Right, state Q, let's draw the rule. So going to the right is just anything in my alphabet and blank. And then going to the left is anything in my alphabet and a capital letter. Do you have a question? Yep. And so can Q handle anything in my alphabet? A, B, C. That's everything in my alphabet. Can it handle a blank? Yeah, diverges, but good enough. So we can't reject on Q. T. Can T handle anything in my alphabet? Yes. Can it handle a blank? Yes. We can't reject on T. S. So now we've entered S on a left, right? We've entered S on a left. And so now S needs to worry about anything in my alphabet and a capital letter and capital letters. So I see that there are 3 capital letters and it's only able to handle 2 of them. It's not able to handle a P. So let's write that down. Right, can't handle a P. And it also can't handle a B. And so we can reject on state S. It's possible. What do you mean? Start of what? The question? I haven't even answered anything. I'm just prepping. Okay. Um, okay, we're in state we're in state X. But X is L accept, so we don't have to worry about rejecting there because we accept there. And now in P. Can we enter state P through a left? Right. When you enter state P through left, that means we have to worry about anything in my alphabet and a capital letter. It can handle anything in my alphabet, but it can't handle anything in my capital letters. It's unable to handle P. State P can't handle capital P. And so therefore this can also reject. So these are all the ways that we reject. Are there any questions on how I did that? Do you know how to read these matrix, these transitions? Okay. What does this one do? What does this one say? Yeah, close. Good try. But you're mixing up the order. So if this is like P A X A R, right? This is the state you're in. But this is what you read. So I don't know what you mean by you go to A. This is the state you go to. And then this is what you write. And the go to X, print A, go right. Yeah, I mean, if you just you skipped read and the state you're in. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and now we know where we reject, we know where we accept, we know where we diverge. Let's try to write the answer. So sorry. So whatever it is in Q, the first state based off of the rest states, like how APK and what the fuck? Uh kind of. Uh I haven't done any transitions yet. I've only listed out the flow of everything. Can I do S one more time? So yeah, so print A, go to X, read state you're in, print A. Why do you print A twice? Like this is the state you read. Uh just okay. Just read this. Read this. Let's move on. If you're getting stuck on reading the transition, it's I went through like a small example. Not a lot happens in a given transition. Kind of like this is all about seeing the bigger picture with all the transitions working together. So just harping on one transition doesn't really get you anywhere. But what was this other question? It said go to can you explain state S one more time? Yeah, okay. Um, so we enter state S with the left, right? If I'm in state T and I see a blank, go to state S, keep it a blank, move left. So I go in on a left. So let me pay attention to all the transitions state S can handle, assuming this rule, right? If I'm entering on a left, then worry about anything. The state needs to worry about anything from the alphabet and any capital letters. Okay. So now looking at state S, can state S handle anything in my alphabet? It can handle an A, it can handle a C, but it can't handle a B. So I'm going to note that down. It can handle a capital A, it can handle a capital K, but it can't handle a capital P. So I'm going to note that down. That's all state S needs to worry about, just the alphabet and the capital letters. So therefore, this is all the things we need to worry about rejecting and state S. State S also has these transitions that let us go to state P or goes to state X, right? And so that's why we have an arrow going to state X and an arrow going to state P. Does that answer your question? Cool. Now let's write the answer. Okay, so switch to red for accepting. So there's two ways to get to state X. One from going from Q to T, T to S, S to X. And then the other way is going from Q to T, T to S, S to P, P to X. So there's two ways of going to state X. We have to then write two regular expressions and then union them together. So when I peek at the answer, you'll see that there's one regular expression here, and then there's another regular expression here, because we have two different paths to get there. Okay, and so now let's do this. Let's do the straight path without going to P. Ah, fuck. Okay, without going to P. So we're going to go Q to T, T to S, S to X. So how do we go from Q to T? Okay. So looking at Q, I see that there are 3 transitions that take me to P. Take me to T, right? We're going to avoid this one because we're not doing diverging. Okay, so we have 3 transitions. I don't know which one's important. They all do different things. So let's be generic for now. And then if we come back to, oh, we need to look at the capital letter. Yeah, I'll give a heart. Okay, so if we need to figure out what the capital letter is, then we can come back. Think of diverging as going back to itself if you're still confused. Yeah. Diverging is very simple. It just looks like this transition. You start and end in the same state. You read and write a blank, and you move right. That's it. Okay. And then, okay, so we're doing these 3 transitions. I don't know which one I'm picking. I'm going to be as generic as possible. So let's say A or B or C. Right, whichever it was, it's some sort of capital letter on my on my tape. So I'm in state Q. I saw some letter, wrote some capital letter, and then I moved to the right. And now I'm in state T. In state T, there is this loop. This loop is an A or B or C star, right? This is right here. And so let's do that. Let's say we do an A or B or C star. Okay, so we have a bunch of transitions over here, a bunch of letters over here. They all correspond to this A or B or C star. We keep moving to the right, to the right, to the right, to the right, and then we're in state T. And we're looking at something that isn't an A, a B, or a C. Since our alphabet is only A, B, or C, the only possible thing that we could do is look at a blank, which we have this transition right here for. So blank. So that means we have to see a blank. Okay. So if we're in state T and we saw a blank and we moved left, we know this is the end of our string. There's nothing else that comes after here. But we can narrow down exactly what was in this A or B or C star. That's what the rest of these states are for. Okay, so let's copy this over. Let's go left. So there's some capital letter here. This is an A or a B or C. There is possibly some characters here. And then there is a G here, a blank here. So I'm in state S. I'm in state S and I'm looking at something, right? All of these was from an A or B or C star. Right, and my goal is to go from S to X. So how do I do that? That means S needs to be looking at either a capital A or a capital K. How do I see a capital A or a capital K, right? From this A or B or C star, these are all lowercase letters. Where does my capital A or a capital K come from? It comes from right here. This is the only place that a capital A could have been, which means this star is empty and this S is looking at here, right? And remember I made it generic, but now I actually explicitly don't want a B, right? Because a B is now going to turn into a capital P. The only way I get a capital A or a capital K is with a C or a K. An A or C, I mean. Which means I go to state S, I see a capital A or a capital K, and what do? I go to state X and I move to the right. Okay. Now I've made it to state X. I have no transitions for X, so I stop. And now I check, is X my accepting state, my final state? It is. Therefore, this is my regular expression. So A or C star. I mean A or C, no star. Okay. Is everyone good with that? No, yes. Got you. You said there's another question that has no final star, right? Yeah. Wait, why no star? We didn't write a star. Right? Remember the star was here and then we canceled it. This part never had a star to begin with. So where does the star come from? I just misspoke when I accidentally said A or C star. Yeah. What do we do if there's no final state? We'll get to a question that looks like that. I'm still confused on how you construct the right expression from the transitions. Makes sense. I haven't answered, sorry. So we haven't done this bottom part yet, where we go to state P and then get to X. So this is only half the answer. And then this is yeah, this is half, right? This or part A or C. And then this part is what we'll have to work on generating. We only have S, now we need P. Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Okay, you guys seem to get it. I'm gonna move on. Okay, so now let's do that. Okay, we know how Q looks. Q is just going to be some capital letter. We don't know if it matters. So let's write that down. And it's an A or B or C. Some capital letter. And we're in state Q. We saw some letter A or B or C. We turned to a capital letter. And then we moved right and we went to state T. Okay, looking at state T, there is this loop here. What the fuck? All the gifts just popped up at once. Okay, over here we see there's a loop here. This is an A or B or C star. Okay, so we keep moving to the right. The only way to go from T to S is if we see a blank, right? That's what this transition is for. And if we see a blank, then we move left. So we've hit the end of our string. Okay, so let's copy this down because now we're moving left. So we know that there's at least a capital letter here. There's some star here. And we hit the blank. So now we're in state S and we're looking at the end of our string. We're moving left this time. But remember, we want to go to state P. State P means we have to either do this transition or this transition. Okay, which means I need to either see an A or a C. Okay, either one of those is going to get me to P, so now I'm over here. So that means this part here is still just my A or B or C star. But now I'm in state P looking at it, right? So I'm in state P either looking at a star or a capital letter. Well, state P has transitions for a star, right? If you look at all of these, it says PA, PAL, PB, PBL, PC, PCL. And remember, they're going left. So it's not like they are writing anything. All the characters that we have are already here. They're from this A or B or C star. All this is doing is going until it hits a capital letter. So we're going to keep going all the way back till we get to right here. So it's going to say P and then P, P. And then in state P, it's going to have to look at a capital letter. But which capital letter does it want to see? It wants to see either an A or a K. An A or a K means no B. So originally we kept it generic. We give it any capital letter, but now we know it's explicitly just an A or a C, an A or a K, which means we get rid of the B. And so this is now just A or C. And that's my answer, the other part of the answer. A or C, A or B or C star, A or C. And then that's the whole answer. Questions? Nice, makes sense. Oh, shit, you have a question. Can you go over A or C, please? Like, this ARC or like these ARCs? So this one. When you say last one, this was technically the last one we generated, or did you want the last one all the way at the end? Left. This one. Okay. This one came from here, right? Notice P wants to look at a capital letter. The only way we have a capital letter here is from, we kept it generic. It was either an A, B, or C. That's what it was. But we noticed an A gives us capital A, a B gives us capital P, and a C gives us capital K. Which ones do we want? We want only A or K, which means we need to get rid of B from our transition. So I get rid of B, and then all we're left with is A or C. Hence A or C. We won't be given a question where you're given LA, LR, LD, and we make transition sets, right? No. Making a Turing machine is actually kind of easy. I don't know. I've done it a couple of times, only to make questions up, but not to generate a regular expression. But honestly, it would be pretty easy. Probably. If we're reverse engineering it from the transitions to this, you could just go backwards. Bro, like, I recommend you just ace exam 1 and then not even take exam 2. It honestly doesn't matter what I recommend. You guys are just gonna study. Okay, let's go on to diverge. Okay. So we know from our graph that the only way we diverge is in state Q. Right, and we get there by automatically just being there. Right, so we already start off in state Q. And so how do we just stay in state Q? We have to see a blank. So if I'm in state Q and I see a blank, that means nothing comes after it. There's an infinite number of blanks after it, which means my original input string was empty, and hence my answer is empty, lambda. Yeah, I got you. Okay, so we start in state Q, right? And notice all of these transitions take me out of Q. The only transition that keeps me in state Q is the one that makes me diverge, which means all I can do is do this. How do I do Q blank R? That means I need to be in state Q and I see the blank. Well, if the first thing I see is a blank, that means my tape was completely empty to begin with, which means my input was lambda. It was empty. So therefore, my answer is just lambda. Okay. Now let's do rejects. And we know that there are two ways of rejecting, either right here or right here. So there are two parts to the regular expression. We're probably going to generate something slightly different from this, but then we'll consolidate it and show that our answer is equivalent to our answer. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so we want to go from Q to T because our goal is to get to state S. S is how we reject. So let's go from Q to T. And we know we do that by just some sort of capital letter. Actually, if you just look at your answer for A, You see that this is all strings that start and end with an A. So this starts and ends with an A or a C. This starts and ends with an A or C. So our answer is just going to be B, A or B or C star B or B, which is equivalent to what yours is here. Oh no, it's not. It is. But we'll actually generate it. Okay, so let's start. So we want to go from Q to T because we want to go to state S and halt there. So if I'm in state Q and I want to go to T, that means I need to see I need to do one of these 3 transitions. All of them take me to T, so let's just be generic, A or B or C. And then let's write a capital letter here. So now we go to state T. And now in state T, we have this A or B or C star. Then we keep moving to the right. And then eventually the only way to go to state T to S is if we see a blank. Okay, so we see a blank. We're in state T and we see a blank and we move left. So now we're in state S. Let me copy it over. Right, because we're moving to the left now. Okay, so state S, we know there's definitely a capital letter on the tape. In state S, what do we say halts in state S? A lowercase b or a capital P? So let's do the lowercase b first. Okay. So if there's a lowercase b here, that means all of this is an A or a B or a C star. Right. And again, if we're in state S and we see a B, we don't have a transition for it, so we stop. Okay. And this we never changed. We never came back to this capital letter, which means this is still just A or B or C. And then this B was guaranteed, was mandatory. So my first part of the answer is A or B or C. A or B or C star B. Okay. But now let's also try to figure out how to get to state S and then look at a capital P. So if we got to state S and we were looking at a capital P, the only way we see a capital letter is if state S was actually looking at the first symbol. If it's looking at the first symbol, that means this star was empty. And if the first symbol we want to see is a P, that means this X was actually originally a B. Right, so this wasn't actually an X, right? We knew that this had to be P, and then that originally came from a B. So then to this answer, we also then write or B. Okay. So that's everything in state S. Now we need to go from state S. Someone have a question? No, right? So this S, we went to this blank, we moved left and we saw a P. So this A union B union C star that was here because we thought it could have been here is actually now zero. Yeah. Nah, we'll consolidate and get her answer. She usually does things. Yeah, we'll do that too. But you don't have to do that on the exam. All right. For us, we're gonna get 3 parts to their answer. One for halting here, one for halting here, and then one for just halting in general on a P in state R. So okay. And so let's do that. So this top part stays the same. we know exactly how we got here. Uh, right? We were in state Q, we saw some capital letter, we moved to the right. We then saw an A or B or C star because there was a loop in state T. And then we get to state S. And now we get a blank and now we're in state S. So now let's see what happens. Okay, so I see this blank. I moved to the left from T to S. Sorry, I moved to the left. So now I'm here. Now I want to go from S to P. So how do I go from S to P? In order to go from S to P, I need to see an A or a C. So now this part here needs to be an A or a C. Okay, so now that there's some A or C here, I can move to the left again and go to state P. And so now P has this loop here, right? We could keep moving left because we need to eventually see a capital letter. So it's possible that, so the only capital letter that exists here is in the first star, for the first symbol. So that means this A or B or C is still here. And then we keep moving to the left. And then we get here in state P, right? We see a capital letter. Which capital letter do we explicitly want to see? It's a capital P, which means originally the first symbol was actually a B. It wasn't an A or C. And so the last part of our expression is B. A union B union C star A or C. And so these are the three parts that we have. And now how to consolidate it to her answer. First half. I'm just trying to see. I'm only trying to consolidate to her answer because I need to confirm that our answer is correct. So we need to start with a B also or end in a B. So this one's is just the edge case that it's a single character. We don't need to consolidate. I'm just doing it because I want to double check that I'm correct. Why is there 2 stars in B? What? Where? In the end. This part here? There's 1. In her answer. There's a union, right? This is saying starting with the B, anything that starts with a B, and this says anything that ends in a B, right? So this is fine. This is 1 or more ends in a B, and this is 1 or more, but it can't also end in a B is what this is saying. No, but if it ends in a B, then it falls in this one. Whatever, fuck consolidating your answer. I think our answer is correct because it follows this also. But the real GigaChad way to do it would be to try to calculate the complement of this, right? And you see that this is everything that starts and ends with a B or C. And so I would have just changed this to a B or a B and then or B. This is question 13. I don't think calculating the complement of this is actually correct. But that's what I would have done on an exam. These questions take way too long. But yeah, it's not actually correct. But this is a correct answer. Okay, time to find a question without a final state. Okay, found one. Oh shit, these questions are 20 points. Clint says no because it doesn't follow structure or something along the lines. Oh, I just write doesn't exist due to Rice's theorem. Like if you look at this question, right? This algorithm does not exist. If it existed, it would blah blah blah, which is impossible by Rice's theorem. Right. So I would have got this question correct by just saying it doesn't exist due to Rice's theorem. Some of these are actually kind of easy to look into, like understand without theory. So this one says input of W over sigma. Yes, if input belongs to exactly those strings over a Turing machine M, defined at the beginning of this problem, else otherwise. This only exists if L diverges is null. Wait, do you need Rice's theorem for Turing with no final state? No, not really. But let's do this. You don't need Rice's theorem to answer any Turing machine question. Like, what does the machine do? You just need it for proving whether or not an algorithm exists. Like, does it have trivial, non-trivial properties, things like that. I don't even know what any of that means. I'm not smart. Uh, Spring 2017. Okay. This is a Turing machine without a final state. If you notice, there's no capital F here. We have states, we have alphabet, we have tape symbols, we have transitions, we have a starting state, but no final state. This is an example of something that only halts and diverges. And we're actually only being asked to write L diverges, which means all we need to do is figure out a way to get to a diverging state, which is actually really convenient because this question is a bitch and a half to do for all the ways to halt. I think there's about 8 ways to halt, which would be kind of fucking annoying. But let's do it. Let's do diverging. Also, this question's worth 20 points. So that's almost half of your required number of points to pass. Okay, so what do we need to do in order to diverge? We need to look for a diverging transition. Boom, found it. Easy. So we know we diverge on state V. Is there any more? No. There aren't any other ways to diverge. Okay, so let's draw out our transition graph. So let's start with Q. Q has 3 transitions, they all take me to P. P has 3 transitions that loop back to P, so there's a P star, or there's a loop at P, and then we have 1 transition that takes me to S. Okay, there are 2 transitions in S, 1 takes me back to S, and then 1 takes me to T. And then in T, there's 1 transition that takes me to V. And then in V, we just diverge. Chill. Now we're chilling. That's all we need to do. So the first part says write 6 distinct strings that belong to L diverge. I'll write a regular expression, and then from there, we'll we'll create some strings from it. Okay. So let's go to Q. Let's go from Q. Start doing this. Okay, so we're in state Q. We need to go from Q to P. All of these do exactly the same thing. I either say an A, B, or C, and I go to T. And I write a T. So that means on my tape, there's a capital T, and this came from an A or a B or a C. Okay, then we move to the right and we go to state P. Now P has a loop. This is an A or B or C star loop. So whatever we write, it's all just from this. We keep moving to the right, to the right, to the right, to the right. And the only other thing to do is then transition to state P. From P is to go to left, go to S on a blank. So it means we hit a blank. Why A or B or C star? What do you mean? It's right there, right? Yeah. Okay. So now we're in state P. We see a blank go to the left and we enter in state S. Okay, so let's copy this over and start working from the left. So we have blank and we're in state S. Right, currently we're either looking at something from A or B or C star, or we're looking at a capital T. Right, but let's start filling in the blanks. In state S, what do we want to see? We can see a B, right? We notice state S has a loop, which means if there was any number of B's here, that would be fine. If the string ended with any number of B's, that would still be fine. So imagine if the last part of this A or B or C star could end in a B star, like just a bunch of strings of B's. So that's what we're going to say this part is, because S can handle that. It doesn't matter how many B's I see at the end. I'm just going to keep moving to the left. But I eventually will need to see an A in order for me to continue on. So that means from this star, there was an A followed by a bunch of B's. Or there's an A followed by no B's. But this is enough for me to now move left and go to state T. So I'm in state T, right? Keep in mind, this is all still part of what was originally an A or B or C star. We just more refined it more, right? We said any A's or B's or C's can come, but now we're like, actually, it needs to end in a B star, or it could possibly end in a B star. But there has to be an A. And then in state T, it says it has to be a C before that A. So this C was here. And the reason the C was here is because if I'm in state T and I see a C, go to state V, keep it a C, move right. And now we move right, and now we're in state V. Right. But notice we haven't halted yet. Right. How do we halt in state V? I mean, sorry, we're not halting, we're diverging. We still have transitions to do, right? And the other stuff we haven't seen yet is this A or B or C star. Right. So if I'm in state V and I see an A or B or C, what do? I just keep moving to the right. But it doesn't matter, right? Because eventually I just keep moving to the right. I know I'll see a C, that's fine. I'll see an A, that's fine. I see a bunch of B's, that's fine. And then I see a blank, and then I do my blank transition, which makes me diverge. Oh shit, where does it say right? Oh, the V. Doesn't matter. Right, even if this was here, this doesn't actually change anything. Right? Because the moment I get to V, I'm diverging. Doesn't matter what Okay, if you remember that, like when I said, if you're moving to the right, you have sigma or blank. V diverges, but it's also able to handle the sigma. So we can just keep going forwards and forwards. So it doesn't matter what I saw here because I'm moving to the right. If I'm moving to the right, where was my only capital letter? It's still to the left of me. So it doesn't matter. And so we keep moving to the right. Okay, so we move to the right, we saw an A. It does an A transition. We move to the right, we see B star. It does a B star transition. And then we move to the right, and then we see a blank. And now it diverges. And so how do you consolidate all this? So you read this left to right. So this is A or B or C, A or B or C star, C, A, B star. That's our answer. Uh, cool. And then how do you create 6 distinct strings from this regular expression? You just pick something from here. Let's pick a C. And then you have a star here. Let's make that 0. Let's make the star equal to 0 also. So we have 3 options here. Let's picking 0 from here. Then we have 2 here. That's already 3 strings. And then you just copy those 3 strings and add a B at the end of it. And now we have 6 strings. And that's good enough to answer part A. 6 distinct strings. Any questions? Wait, but if it's to the right, wouldn't we write? Wait, what do we do? What do we put for A again? You just write 6 distinct strings that would diverge. This is a regular expression for it that would diverge. So how do you generate 6 strings from this regular expressions? No, she says C answer to part B. So generate strings from here. Just be creative. Or don't be creative, actually. Just be as simple as possible. AACA would be one of them. AACA would be one of them. Yeah. And then spam a bunch of B's at them. Yeah, exactly. ABCA. Wow, you guys are pretty good at this. Can you shift back to the left for the tape? Why didn't we count the line BCVCR? It doesn't matter. We never saw it. But even if we did see a C, we would just keep moving to the right. Okay. We all uh we all we all good on this? Nice. All right. I believe in you guys. You guys can answer Turing machine questions now. All right, who wants to come up to the board and answer this question? Don't be shy. Yeah, unless you want to do the Turing, unless you want to do the theory stuff. Yeah. Same thing. Even if you wrote a regex, you could convert a regex into a finite state machine. I believe in you guys. Did that in exam one. Some of you guys passed. Nah, don't say that. You did that on exam one. Oh, is there more tutoring? If you guys have questions, if you guys bring me questions that you have actually attempted and then failed, then I'll help you with those. But other than that, I think I showed you enough. And for the person that said if I give them the regular expression, they'll create this, you could generate the regular expression also, and then create this yourself also. That'd be really impressive. This question's worth 20 points. Big money. Do you have a pumping limit question that you did? MLK. Yo, we got MLK up in here. You see the C and this M and the L? They all are they're all next to each other. So you can rearrange the L's actually. I mean, you can rearrange this letter. So just put the L over here, put the K over here. And now you have M looping here, this B and C linking together, and this C and K linking together. You could rearrange everything. If they're next to each other, and the characters are the same, yes. Imagine it like if I said like A to the N, B to the K, and then sorry, A to the K. And then I said, I'm gonna give you the string A. Tell me what N is and what K is. Right? It's abstract. Right? There's multiple combinations. It's and you also could have done A to the K, A to the N, and it still would have generated the same exact strings of letters. This is an A. That's why you can rearrange them if they're the same character and they're next to each other. Oh, okay. There was this one in problem help. Oh, okay. What are we doing? I'm getting L diverges. All right, let's see why this is difficult. Whose Discord notifications are going off? It's not mine. I'm not that popular. Okay, so let's start with this question. Let's figure out the transitions. See why this is difficult. Okay, so we have Q goes to R. What the fuck? How many states are there? Oh, shit. Okay, Q goes to R goes to S goes to T goes to P goes to P is a loop, P goes to V goes to, holy shit. V goes to Z or Y. God, could you have picked a more cancer question to give me? Z goes to Y. Then Y diverges. Because Y has this. Doesn't matter. It diverges. Yeah. Okay. Let's do this. I'm just gonna cheat to make sure I'm not wasting everybody's time. Oh, there are lefts. I see. Okay. Let's begin. So we're gonna go from Q to R. Okay, in order for me to go from Q to R, I need to see a 1 on my tape. So this one is mandatory. So I'm going to go from Q and then I go to R. I keep it at R1 and I move right. Now I'm in state R. And R also is the same thing. If there's R1 needs to be here. And then I go to S. S says in order to go to state T, I need to see a 1, or write a 1. And I'm in state T. State T is this. This says 0 or 1. In order to get to state P. Okay, state P says 0 or 1 star. And then I keep looping, and then I eventually go back to oh, I hit a blank eventually. I hit a blank, and now I go to state V. So now in state V, that I've hit a blank. Oh, shit. Okay. Okay. So I've hit a blank. I'm in state V because I hit a blank. And so far, all I have is all of this. I know for a fact there's 3 1s on the beginning, and then there's a 0 or a 1 here. So let's just write 0 or 1. And now I'm in state V, and I'm moving left. State V says if I see a 1, change it to a 0, move left. If I see a 0, go to state Y. And then move right. Okay. So let's do that part. Let's go straight to Y because we have 2 transitions. Let's go straight to Y. So we're gonna do this bottom one. Okay, we go to state we see a 0. So that means the 0 is mandatory. And that whatever was here, the 0 1 star is stays here. I'm in state V, I see a 0. I go to state Y, I keep it a 0, I move right. So I'm in state Y and I'm looking at a blank. If I'm in state Y and I'm looking at a blank, I diverge. Okay, so this is my first regular expression. First part of it. 1 1 1 0 or 1 0 or 1 star. And then a 0. Okay. And now there's also this other way that I could have gone to Z and then gotten to y. So let's go do that. So the only thing that changes is this part, right? This all stays the same. I saw a blank in state P, so I turned to the left. And now I'm in state V. But now I want to go to state Z. So that means I need to see a 1 here. So that means there's a 1 here. I change it to a 0. So this was originally a 1. I move to the left, which here is still the 0 or 1 star. And I am looking in state Z. In state Z, it says if I see a 0, move right. If I see a 1, move left. Okay. If I see a 0, okay, if I see a 0, move right. So that means let's put a mandatory 0 here. Then I would move right, and then I would diverge, because I would be in state Y looking at a 0, and then I would be in state Y looking at blank and diverge. So that means this also ended in a 0, 1. This whole thing is the same thing. Okay, but now what if I saw a 1? Okay, so what if I was in state Z and I saw a 1? If I'm in state Z and I see a 1, go to state Y and go to the left. So if I'm in state Y and I go to the left, it doesn't matter what I'm looking at, right? Say I'm looking at a 0 and then I move to the right, I'll eventually be looking at this 1. So as long as I don't end in a 101, it accepts. What the fuck? So this is just right, so 101. Okay, so this says ends in a 0 or ends in a 1, and then this part stayed the same. Oh, the seeing the 1 here trapped me is what this is saying. Oh yeah, no, it did, right? Because I got here and then I couldn't ever fix it. Ah, okay, so ignore this bullshit. Okay, so my answer would be this and then this, which is correct. Make sense? The only thing that matters is the ending, right? And then if you look at this part here, how did she get rid of this? Oh, fuck. Bitch. I didn't look over here. Okay, never mind. My answer is wrong. This question is too tough, bro. Uh, okay, I can consolidate this. We just have to figure out what happens if the star is equal to 0, and then get 2 more test cases, which would look like this. But I don't want to do that, bro. I got a flight to catch. Okay, the reason my answer is wrong is because I only checked what was in the star, right? Like I never took into account if the star was equal to 0. So if I did the same exact thing, but then only working with the mandatory characters here, I would get something like 1 1 1 0 and then 1 1 1 0 1. And then if I did that uh and combine these two, I would get this as an answer. And then it would be correct. But it's too hard, bro. What do you mean one regular expression? I mean, like my flight's in the morning. What is that like? 5 a.m. I gotta be at the airport at like 5 a.m. Heading back to Seattle. New York. Oh, oh, you cut off the question. I don't even know what it's asking for. Oh, L. This is just asking for L accepts. Okay, I'll try this one. But I don't have the answer. I don't know if I'm correct. I'm not gonna do this one. You didn't send me the answer key also. The 2017 spring 2017. Do I have that open? Oh shit, I have it open. I got lucky. What is this question 10? Ah, nah. Nah, this is the one I said you guys do. You almost got me there. I would do that. You don't have to do that though. Spirit Airlines. I'm not trying to fight somebody the moment I get on an airplane. I do have an Amex Plat of a private jet though. It's pretty cool though. Um, oh, this is an interesting question. Okay, so if you notice in this question, uh, the first part says a context or grammar, and then part B says draw a state transition graph. And so if you remember that, like, it's possible that something is context free, but it's not regular, right? If this is the class of all languages that are regular and this is the class of all languages that are context free, this is basically an example of something that exists right here. It's context free, but it's not regular. And so that's why you're able to answer the first part and answer the second part. Which part did you get stuck on? I don't fly first class. Saving up all my points so I can fly to Japan first class? The person that posed this question, the entire question is wondering how you can do both. Did you even try this question? This question is pretty easy. The first part, at least. Maybe don't use 2013 exam. You have like at least 9 more years of exams that are closer to what you'll get than 2013, a 10-year-old exam. Bro, you think I'm living the life? I'm here doing 320 prep, tutoring. You guys can look at the syllabus to see what she's teaching tomorrow. Okay, I'm gonna end the recording here.